Yo, welcome to another episode of the Blue Bloods College Game Time Podcast. Championship weekend is over. It's Trey Smith.
And it's your boy, Brandon Holmes. Welcome to Blue Bloods College Game Time, a podcast for the fans, by the fans. Also, Big Ten outright champion, Brandon Holmes.
Ooh.
University of Michigan, man. First time since 2004. Smackdown yesterday, 42 to 3, and we still got areas to clean up. But, man.
Hey, I'll tell you this, though. I'll tell you why I'm excited right now is because Arkansas finally got that New Year's Day bowl that I've been predicting and screaming for. In fact, at the midnight hour, I posted a video up projecting them playing either Wisconsin or Penn State, and they drew Penn State in the Outback Bowl, as I mentioned. Also, just fresh off the press, Jaden Hazelwood, former number one receiver in the country, who has been playing at OU, led the team in receptions this past season. He entered the transfer portal after the Lincoln Riley news, and as of Sunday, he's committed to the Razorbacks. Anyway, so we'll get to these bowl games because really, B. Holmes, this whole episode, we're going to talk about the bowl matchups, and as we talk about the bowl matchups, we'll be talking about championship weekend, how things played out. Real quick, if you are not subscribed, please hit subscribe right now. Subscribe to our channel. A lot of positive momentum happening. If you're just listening on one of the platforms, we thank you so much. Please send this and share it with somebody. Yes. Like us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, whatever you may be using. And if you want to see our ugly mugs, come head over to our YouTube channel. It's Blue Bloods CGT. All right, B. Holmes, I'm not even trying to waste any time. Let's just get into this bowl.
Let's go for it.
Discussion. Yep. Okay? Bowl game / championship weekend. So, starting off, we're going to start with the CFP. And let's just start there. The top four, we had Bama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati. We got Bama matched up with Cincy, Michigan matched up with Georgia. Before we even talk about these games, what do you think about that top four and how they were seeded or placed or whatever, ranked?
So I kind of figured once Bama put it on Georgia the way they did, they would probably get the number one. I thought that it could be intertwined between them or Michigan. I just knew the committee wasn't going to give us I don't love it because I knew the committee wasn't going to give us Bama, Georgia back-to-back. Part of me is like, they think most people won't watch it. Part of me thinks ESPN has a deal with the SEC, I believe. So a part of me was like, okay, of course they're going to try to set this up to get an SEC final because they love the SEC. So, I mean, I think it is what it is. I'm more glad than anything that Cincinnati didn't get hosed in this. It would have been interesting if Oklahoma State would have they lost by a game of inches yesterday. Game of inches. Yeah. It would have been interesting what would have happened if they would have won. But this is what I will say, though. I think this has been the most non-predictable year of college football. Because we thought Georgia would have been the constant. I think everybody for the most, except for me last week, I did say it wouldn't surprise me if Alabama won this game. I did say that last week. Nick Saban is a genius, but anything can happen, man. It just looks like one of those years where I'm happy with how the committee kind of had an easy pick on how to do it. I'm happy with the seedings. I don't think anybody's like the outright they're going to dominate. I think we could possibly see some upsets. I think we could see a Michigan-Alabama final. I think we could see a Alabama-Georgia rematch. But man, based upon how the situation is going and based upon which Bama team shows up, now we know they get 2 weeks to prep for this, 2 or 3 weeks to prep for this game. And, man, nobody's a better prep for if you give him this much time than Nick Saban. But
no,
it depends which Bama shows up. Cincinnati is not low on talent, and that as the underdog, if they get enough enough early in the game, they might think they can hang around, and they're going to come in with a chip on the shoulder. They lost by 3 to Georgia last year. Desmond Ritter's been playing good football. Their running back Ford is actually a Bama transfer, so he's not like just some 3-star kid that they picked from Youngstown, Ohio. Right. No, this kid played at Bama, just transferred for playing time. And then the guy that got on the other side of the ball, the DB from Detroit, I forget his name, but he's good. So here's what I will say. It wouldn't shock me if it was something weird like Cincinnati in the championship game. Like, I'm excited for this because I just don't know who's going to win. There's no, once Georgia lost the way they lost yesterday, I kind of lost, the whole Georgia's automatically going to the final. I think they're going to have to earn it. I think them playing Michigan, this is what I'm not saying Michigan's going to win, right? And this isn't like a homer opinion. This is what I feel about it, truthfully. Everyone talks about Michigan's run game, but I don't think people understand how much speed they really do have on the outside, like how much talent really is in the wide receiver position. And I think if it comes down to quarterback play between Georgia and Michigan, I like Cade McNamara better than Stetson Bennett. I just do. I like Cade. He's cool. He's calm, collected. He doesn't have gaudy numbers, but he's super intelligent. He doesn't really turn the football over much. I think he has 4 interceptions in the entire year. So I don't know, Trey. I think this could be one of those Cinderella, once in a lifetime. Wow, could you believe we have a Cincinnati versus Michigan national championship? Or it could be your typical, we got Bama versus Georgia again. So I'm interested to see how everything kind of plays out.
Well, I just don't see any chance Cincinnati has of winning that game against Bama. Now, I know Bama's one of their top receivers, it was reported Sunday, tore his ACL. Yeah. What do they call him, Meach?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. And he went down in the SEC championship. But let's talk about the SEC championship for a second. It really exposed Georgia. However, what other team has what Bama has to be able to expose Georgia in the way that they exposed them? Now, a team that immediately comes to mind is Ohio State. But then you just alluded to the fact people don't understand how much speed Michigan really does have out there on the edges. So we'll see what happens there. But as far as the SEC championship goes, it was a disappointing performance. I think there is this mental block with Kirby Smart when it comes to Nick Saban. And I'm going to be honest, when I look at these top 4 teams, really the only coach that I believe in my gut is not intimidated by Nick Saban is Jim Harbaugh, because he's the only one that has comparable skins on the wall to where he doesn't look at what Saban's accomplished, and where I'm sure he has tremendous respect for it. He's not intimidated by it. He's not going, not because he's won 6 national championships or whatever it is himself, or 7, whatever Saban's at now. It's really because Harbaugh played a decade and a half in the league, had tremendous success as a player at Michigan, had success in the league. Then he goes and rebuilds programs at the collegiate level, takes them to tremendous success. Then he goes to the NFL, has tremendous success, coaches in a Super Bowl. Now he's back where he belongs, the Michigan man, which I'm so happy, by the way. If I don't get a chance to say it again, I'm so happy he's had the season that he's had and that Michigan's doing what they're doing, because I love seeing Jim Harbaugh as Michigan's head coach.
Yeah, same.
But I think he's not looking at Saban going, oh, no. And I'm not saying Fickell and Kirby are scared of him. I just think there is a little bit of a mental, conscious or subconscious, intimidating, man, this is the GOAT right here. This is that dude. And for Kirby, he's going this was, this is my mentor. And Fickell's going, man, this is what I'm aspiring to be like one day. But Alabama Cincy, I was thinking about this, B. Holmes, Luke Fickell. Is he not living in real life the EA NCAA 14 dream that
Seriously.
We all have in our dynasties? Yes. I mean, for real, he's taken over a mid-tier team, rebuilt them, had like a quick 1 year turnaround. I think won 4 games his first year, and then 11 his second year, or something like that. He's won 11 games back to back to back. Finally gets over the hump, goes undefeated, wins the conference, gets into the CFP just before his team joins a Power 5 conference. I'm literally thinking back to when I was in middle school or high school, and I had this dynasty with Florida Atlantic. And it was on, I think, this was back on like PlayStation 2 maybe. So I don't remember which year of NCAA it was, but it was definitely on the PS2. And I built this dynasty at FAU, bro. And I'm just winning year in, year out. And finally, I didn't even know this was a feature in the game. But I got this alert after one of my seasons, and it says, yes, it says, you've been invited to join the Southeastern Conference. Yes or no? And I'm going, wait, what? This is crazy. And I think they ended up taking that feature out when they allowed you to user control what your conferences are. But I still had the same mentality where I would take over this mid-major team, be like, all right, I'm going to build them up. And then in my brain, I'm like, oh, we're getting all, we you know, me and you, we come up with all these narratives when we're playing through the dynasty. And I'm looking at Luke Fickell going, man, he's living it in 3D, because since he's about to move to the Big 12, he's gone undefeated, won the conference, gets in the CFP. I just don't see a way of them beating Bama. Bama wins that game. And honestly, another thing I feel like they have going against them, go look at the Cotton Bowl scores since it's been a New Year's Six game. And especially the years it's been a CFP game. Like, I think there may have been one game in the last 7-8 years, however many it's been, where it was actually not a blowout. And the reason why I remember is because I'm usually there. I've been to like most of them. And the ones that Bama played in, which I think they played against Michigan State 1 year when it was a CFP game, just dominated them. I think Baylor, Michigan State 1 year was really good. And I think Wisconsin, Western Michigan, maybe. I don't know how close that one ended up finishing. But anyways, other than that, it's usually blowout. So that's another thing going against Cincinnati. Getting to the Orange Bowl, Michigan, Georgia. First off, hats off to Michigan, as I've already said. I mean, they dominated Iowa. I believe they deserve to be the number 1 team going into this thing. It's probably a good thing that they're not, just on account that this kind of gives them something they can have a chip on their shoulder about. Yeah, exactly. And even if they would have been number 1, they would have just dropped Georgia to number 4. It didn't matter. To your point, they weren't gonna have a rematch the first round. You're right. They're setting that up for either the second round, the national championship, or not at all. Now, with Michigan, they definitely have the quarterback advantage. I also feel like they have the coaching advantage. I just like Harbaugh. I know he's had some tough times or kind of hit some valleys in his time at Michigan, particularly last season. I mean, this was kind of like a make or break year for him. But man, I just watching that team kind of late in the fourth quarter, like they're just rolling. I mean, it just seems like he's got this culture going, and that team has an energy around it where they're doing a lot of good things. However, Kirby Smart, dude, he's a dog. He coaches the dogs. He's recruited some dogs, and he's going to get things right. The question is, does he stick with his walk-on quarterback? And will his defense show up? Granted, it's not against what's the transfer from Ohio State that just
from Alabama
caught it over the receiver Jameson Williams. I mean, my goodness, just catch it right over the middle of the field and boom! Like I texted a buddy, I said, "You can't coach that, you know." Run fast, that's like right. That's hey,
that's all I need you to do
to the end zone. I think, in my unexpert opinion, that the way Michigan plays is a really good matchup, like really plays into Georgia's defense's strengths, right? obviously Alabama came out and they were throwing the quick screens. Shout out to my boy Reed. He's a big Bama guy, like been a Bama guy, like born and raised Bama guy. Was talking to me about it earlier this week. He's like, man, we just got to get to we got to get to our quick screens to set up deep shots and da-da-da-da-da, and that's basically what they did. But Michigan, right, their style has been, we're going to come right at you and hit you in the mouth, and that's what Georgia invites that style of play. Yeah, they invite that. So I'll be curious to see what Michigan's game plan is. If there's one thing you can say about Harbaugh, like, he usually has a on-point game plan. It just sometimes has come down to execution and poor quarterback play. Like, as a Michigan man, like, would you agree with that?
I think, they have – this is where I think about the game. You're right. I think we play right into Georgia's strength, which is our run game. They want to punch you in the mouth. We want to punch you in the mouth. I think it's going to be a dogfight. This is what I think. Iowa doesn't have the defensively that Georgia has. So I think this was a good first test where Michigan said, okay, if y'all going to commit to stopping the run, we're going to go on the bag and find ways to get on top of you and expose you for some big-time play. So, I call it that he's like our changeup. He's our curveball. You put Blake Corum in there with J.J. McCarthy. Now you got speed running the speed option. Now, Georgia has dogs that can get there, right? But I think Josh Gaddis, I think he's the X factor in this game, our offensive coordinator. If he continues to call the games like he's been calling the last half of the season, I'm not saying we're going to win. I like where we're at in the position. Now, here's the thing I get nervous about with Georgia. If you let them get rolling early, you're in for a long day. And that tight end they got, that kid's a monster. He's only a freshman. If I was him, I'd sit out my next 2 years and just wait till I'm eligible to go to the draft. He is just insane. But this is what I will say, though. If Michigan can stop the run, which we're committed to doing, this is where I feel like it's our ace of spades, our ace in the pocket. Jaron Prince said he's going to talk trash to me for the next 2 weeks, so whatever. I'm going to get my rocks off on my team because it's our podcast. This is what I like, though, Trey. Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo. Those two dudes, those two bookends, make it virtually – look, we made C.J. Stroud – even though – and people are going to say C.J. threw for 300. C.J. looked pedestrian throwing for 300. He had a couple nights, but he was scrambling for his life that whole day. Petrus last night at Iowa, I mean, it was tough sledding for him. So I think this is why I like this Michigan team better than any Michigan team I've probably liked in my entire fandom of Michigan. They're together. They're all bought in. The unity is strong. The momentum is strong. And in the college football game where everybody's more so like pass happy and bend don't break, that's the kind of defense you got to have. When you have two first round defensive ends, pass rushing, complete defensive ends, because David Ajabo's not no slouch on playing the run. He's gotten better as the year has gone around. I think that makes it really tough for anybody you want to play. It plays. So I think it's going to come down to who does not make the mistake. Who makes the mistake first? Who's going to make the interception? Right. Who's going to make the special teams miscue? And I think it comes down to that. And whoever capitalizes off that, I think wins this game. I can see Georgia doing what they're doing, and I know we opened up as the underdog. I just don't think Michigan nationally has gotten its just due for what they have done this year. I think people are kind of like, it's the Big Ten. Ohio State. Because I don't know if you noticed, the national media changed the tune on how good Ohio State was once we beat them. Once we beat them, they didn't have the typical Bosa guy on the defensive end, and their linebacker core was weak. When just a week before, it was when they blew Michigan State out the water, here comes Ohio State again, clicking at the right time. They're sending a message. And we dominated them. They're not that strong. So I don't think, unless you've particularly watched Michigan all year, I think people will be shockingly surprised how good they are. And I think Josh Gaddis has, Harbaugh's an amazing game plan. Like you said, it's come down to execution and quarterback play. I think they have enough up their sleeve, trick play, big play, and we have enough big play potential as well on that team and talent that and they're playing for each other. That's the thing that has me convinced. They're truly like, let's make this a special year, and they've done it. They believed in themselves, and so could Georgia win? I believe so. I mean, I'm not going to bet against my team. I think we can beat. I think we can win the whole thing. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think we can win the whole thing. If we beat Georgia and we play Bama in the final, I'm not intimidated by Bama. Like you said, I don't think Harbaugh's intimidated by Bama. And I think us versus Bama, I actually wanted Bama to – I would have rather played Bama first because I like our matchup against Bama. Yes, because we proved we know how to contain the speed. If they have just one Jamison Williams, we just played Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Garrett Wilson and shut that down.
Guys that kept him off the field.
We shut that. So I'm not concerned about that. So I just like our defense, man. I like the bookends. Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, those are the wild cards in every game we play. If they get to the quarterback, you're in for a long day. And
and that's the thing. Even if I don't think Kirby will, but even if he makes a quarterback change, isn't that 5-star
JT
that's
Daniels
on the bench right now? He's not real mobile. So you either gotta go with your guy that's somewhat mobile, which I don't want to harp on it, but I felt like he had more opportunities to scramble and get yards in that game that he just passed up. But I'm with you. Like, just as easily as I could say what Michigan does offensively is what Georgia's defense invites you to do, you could say the exact same thing. Like, Michigan's defense right now is licking their chops too. They're watching Alabama, like what Alabama did.
We can do that. Oh, we can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that same thing. So I'm excited for that game. I'm way more excited for that game than I am Alabama-Cincinnati. I'm going to pick probably, which let me say this, listeners, viewers, we are going to be doing a Bowl Mania Pick'em, okay? A Blue Blood CGT Bowl Mania Pick'em, and we'll have a prize for the first place winner as long as you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Once we get that set up, we'll blast that out on all our socials, and it's free. It's an ESPN Bowl Mania. Like, hop in, submit your picks. You know, if you're listening to this, you're going to have picks, so you might as well submit them to our Blue Blood CGT one and get a chance to win a prize. And even in this episode, we're going to talk about CFP. I didn't mention this earlier, B. Holmes, but we're going to talk about CFP. We're going to talk about New Year's 6, and we're going to talk about New Year's Day, and then probably be out of time at that point. We don't want to do a 2-hour episode talking about
Liberty
bowl games like ECU versus Boston College. So, okay, but when it comes down to it, I'm probably going to pick Bama. And then I'm probably going to pick Michigan. One of those games I'm going to be picking with my brain, and one of those games I'm going to be picking with my heart.
Yep.
So, and that's, but not so. But I really believe Michigan can beat Georgia. So, okay, I've also been doing this podcast with you for the last 14 weeks. So, and I've known you for the last 12 years. So I obviously I feel some sense of loyalty to Michigan. Can we go New Year's 6 now?
6, man.
Let's go New Year's 6, starting with the Peach Bowl. Okay, we've got Michigan State versus Pitt, the Pitt Panthers, which, by the way, the Pitt Panthers last night really took it to Wake Forest. The highlight play of the game was the Kenny Pickett fake slide. I don't know if you saw that. Oh, okay. I knew it was kind of during the same time as – actually, I don't even know if your game had kicked off yet, but – he hit that fake slide, and the first thing I thought was, I'm surprised that's not a flag. And then, of course, the national discussion on Sunday has been, should that be a flag or not? But it did kind of remind me of like a version of And One, like a football version of And One. I don't know if you ever watched the Chappelle show. He had a skit where it was And One in other sports, and like to me. Kenny Pickett, you just made Dave Chappelle's And One football highlight tape. So I think this game comes down to if Kenny Pickett's going to play. I think if he plays,
it's a blowout.
I think Pittsburgh wins that game. Man.
No, if Kenny Pickett plays, it's a blowout. Michigan State has the worst pass defense in the country. Like. And I I just don't like Michigan State. I'm not even going to hide it. Like, I can't stand them. I hate them. And they're really this is why I think some people always don't like college football. Because in college football, if you have one dynamic player, like, they can really win you about 8 games on their own.
Sure.
Kenneth Walker is the reason why Michigan State has won 8. And you know how many games? I'll put it like this. Mel Tucker betted some of that signing bonus. He should be donating some of that to Kenneth Walker. Because that's the
Kenneth Walker NIL.
Seriously. It's the only reason he just got $95 million. Listen, I'm the Big Ten guy here. I watch a lot of Big Ten football. I watch a lot of Michigan State. They're really not that good. Kenneth Walker has made them look a lot better. And we know what it is in any football. Like, if you can establish the run, people creep up to stop the run, and then you can expose people. And so Jalen Reed and Naylor, they're good receivers, but they've been there for forever. So it's like, Peyton Thorne's not a great quarterback. Kenneth Walker makes that offense hum. But that defense, that secondary, I mean, listen, we know Pitt doesn't have Ohio State quality receivers, but everybody who's tested that secondary has chopped them up badly. And somebody said, I think Jesse Palmer said, he was like, if I'm Kenny Pickett, I play this game to prove to everybody why I should be the number 1 quarterback coming off the board. Like, if you're trying to prove why they should take you over Matt Corral, I play Michigan State.
Okay, so let me give you a little something to chew on here about Kenny Pickett. First off, just let me say this shout out. He did surpass Dan Marino for career touchdown passes on Saturday night and threw his 80th. I think he may have threw another one as well, but he surpassed him, and Dan Marino were tied at 79. That was the only record he did not have sole possession of, passing records, that is, in Pitt school history. So Hall of Famer like Dan Marino, he just surpassed and is now the sole passing leader on all passing records in school history. Here's what I want to throw out there. If Kenny Pickett was surrounded by 2 first-round receivers, a second-round receiver, and a first-round running back, you know what we call him? Joe Burrow. There's your hot take. Think about it. If he had Jordan Jefferson, Jamar Chase, was it Tolliver? What was the
I can't remember.
Chase played the slot, but there was the other guy out on the edge because Jefferson and I think Tolliver, I can't remember the guy's name. He went second round. I think he's on the Panthers right now. But they were on the edges, and then Jamar Chase was in the slot, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the running back, and then the type of protection he had up front. Just something to think about. Now, am I saying that he deserves to be the number 1 pick overall and that he's going to go do the same thing that Burrow's done so far in the NFL? No. However, I think if you watch both of them play and you look at their frame and you see how they play the game, like Burrow used to do at LSU, all of a sudden he'll hit you for a 40-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
You know? It's man covered, whatever it is. He takes off and you're going, oh, dang, okay. I mean, not that either one of them are Lamar Jackson, but they will make a play with their legs. They're both about 6'3", 6'4", 220. I'm not a quarterback guru. I'm just a fan, right? That's what we call this podcast. We're for the fans, by the fans. So as a fan, when I'm watching Kenny Pickett, which I really was able to like intently watch him Saturday night, I was like, this is like Joe Burrow 2.0, except for he doesn't have 2 first-round receivers, a second-round receiver, and a first-round running back. So I've got Pitt.
I like that.
Beating Michigan State. Let's go Fiesta Bowl. So Notre Dame, Oklahoma State. Who do you like? What do you think about this matchup? I know for me, I'll just go ahead and say this. I want Marcus Freeman to do well at Notre Dame as their head coach. I am not a Notre Dame fan, but I want him to do well. And I think if he can win this game, it will really set at least – I just feel like if he loses this game, he'll already have people, well, should we have done this, or should we have tried to go get Urban Meyer? Should we – I mean, or, he's just a placeholder. Right. Like, I don't want this hire to be a placeholder because you saw that video of how the team reacted when he was officially announced to them as head coach. If you hadn't seen that, go look it up on social media.
Yeah,
I know I've retweeted it. I think B. Holmes has retweeted it at It's Trey Smith. If you hadn't already seen it, I mean, the team just goes crazy for him. And if I read correctly, no assistant followed Brian Kelly to LSU.
They all stayed.
Good old Chip Kelly and his family down there in LSU.
Terrible. That was so – he deserved every bit of Twitter flames that he got.
And he got it, too. He got it.
Every bit of it. It annoyed the crap out of me. It was so bad. It was so bad. So bad.
But I think that a lot of Notre Dame brass and a lot of Notre Dame fans, when he left, kind of had this expectation of going and getting this Urban Meyer type splash hire, and they decided to promote from within. And I see how the team reacted. I'm going, man, I don't want this to just be some like placeholder type deal. Like, I want this guy to do well. I want him to win, except for when he's playing Arkansas. And I don't know. Oklahoma State, they just are who they are, right?
Spencer Sanders, man, interception machine. My man gives out interceptions like he's Oprah. You get one. You get a pick. You get a pick. You get a pick.
Which that Baylor defense is no slouch. And we're about to talk about them, but that Big 12 championship, that was the best game, like pure football game of championship weekend, in my opinion. And if you didn't see it, I threw a little video up on our YouTube talking about Baylor's secret weapon who ended up playing really well, linebacker. And then, of course, they got Jalen Petrie, who was Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And they showed out, and when they needed to stop the most, they got it. Got it at awesome. inches away from. So I like Notre Dame in this game. I want Notre Dame to win this game because of their head coach.
Yeah, I want Notre Dame to win. I mean, new coach Marcus, man. I'm just gonna go there with this, man. Anytime you get a African American male that gets a big time head coaching gig, I'm rooting for the guy, man. I'm rooting, especially at an institution like Notre Dame. Like, I think Ty Willingham was like the last one, and I mean he didn't have a good tenure. But I remember being young when he getting hired, and how big of a deal that was in the community at the time. Like this black male got a job at Notre Dame, the head football coach at. To this day, Notre Dame is one of the most prestigious universities, one of the biggest brands in the country, and to see a young guy like Coach get that, man, I'm rooting for it. Like I said, except for when he plays for Michigan, like that's the only time I don't want him to win. But I want him to do well. I think I loved how the team reacted to him. I think this could be a huge. I hope it works out because this could be one of those things for him where this becomes he's the head coach there for a very long time. This could be one of those things where it's like you're looking up 12, 15 years from now, and he's still there. And then I also like him for this, and I know I'm supposed to talk about the game, but I'm going to put this caveat.
No, you're good. I
like him for the fact that, man, he brings a younger, youthful feel to that Notre Dame program. I think that's going to help them on the recruiting trail. I think, from him being kind of in that system, he understands the type of kid you're going to get. And how to get them, but also relate. Mm-hmm. And so, man, I'm super excited about that. Like, that made me happy as a black man to see, like, oh, wow, this guy got an opportunity at Notre Dame, and I'm definitely rooting for him. I want him to do well. Now, back to the game portion of it, I think they could beat Oklahoma State. I think we'll see if Kyle Hamilton play. I don't think he's going to play. I think he's kind of opting out for the rest of the season to the draft. He's like number 6 on Mel Kiper's big board. He's supposed to be a top 10 pick this year playing safety. But I think Notre Dame, the way Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State's quarterback, has been throwing interceptions, I don't trust him. The way they've been turning the football over, I don't trust him. I think it's going to be a defensive slug or not, and then it's going to come down to see how Sanders plays. And I think the way this team got juiced up for Coach Notre Dame, I think they're going to be kind of ready to go out and improve why they want him to be. It's kind of like at Coach O thing that happened a couple years ago where they were about to fire Coach O and everybody steps up and, they end up not – they
rallied around him.
I kind of get that same sense like the players are going to rally around him. And this is why I think he's going to do well. And then we can move on. This is why I think he's going to do well. In that space, most of those guys that are on their team do not come from environments where Notre Dame is. Some of them do. most of them probably don't come from the typical kid that goes to Notre Dame. And to have a guy that's in the CEO seat that talks your language, that's relatable to you, that understands, that can help you navigate, that's a different type of bond that you only get being a certain person, to say it that way. And I think that's going to help them honestly bring some more talent to Notre Dame. Go after some kids. They probably, now we know they still have the academic hurdles they have to go over, but I think that's going to open them up into some living rooms they never would have mainly got in before. And I think these guys are. I think the best scenario I saw that said it. The best metaphor was like Brian Kelly was like a CEO who just had all the right people in place, and he just kind of conducted the orchestra. Marcus Freeman, I believe, is like a coach. Like, coach, I'm going to get in the trenches with my guys, players coach. And I think that alone, and then Notre Dame, those guys on that team, understanding the significance of their coach getting that job, are going to want to see him stay for a while. And so I think they rally around, and I think they pull one off against Oklahoma State and start his tenure off in the right way.
So let me ask you this before we move on. I pulled up here. It's what I'm looking at if you're watching. I sent you this earlier this week about the committee will select teams using a process that distinguishes among otherwise comparable teams by considering. In other words, comparable teams, one of the things they consider are other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. If Brian Kelly would have stayed, does Notre Dame get in over Cincinnati?
No, I don't think so. Cincinnati beat them. I think that would be pure uproar if they would have did that. I don't think you could have justified. At that point you can't justify it. It'd be different if they hadn't played
in your house,
but they played.
Yeah, if that one loss was to someone else earlier in the year,
then we have a discussion. But they came to your house, they beat you, and they beat you handedly. It wasn't like a close game; they beat you handedly. So no, I don't think that changes anything. I think Cincinnati, they did what they were supposed to do. They're about to get their opportunity, and we'll see what happens. But I'm pulling for Coach, man. I want to see him do well, except when he plays Michigan. Other than that, I want you to do great, man. Win all the games you need to win.
All right, Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California, the granddaddy of them all. New Year's Day, Ohio State, Utah. I really think this game, a big part of it's going to come down to who actually plays. And if the players that I think won't play don't play, I could see Utah handling Ohio State the same way they handled Oregon twice. But if the players I'm anticipating won't do play, I think Ohio State takes care of business.
I'll challenge that because I think a lot of people are saying there's Olave. Olave is a first-round draft pick. Wilson's a first-round draft pick this year.
Mm-hmm.
Me knowing being in the Big Ten, that bench is deep, though. So you got Jackson Smith, Enigma. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., you got Julian Fleming, who's the number 1 wide receiver, number 2 wide receiver like 2 classes ago. Like, the guys waiting to get their number called are – and then even if they don't go that way, I like Trevion Henderson at the running back spot. But I could see Utah – I could see Utah – I could see them making – I could actually see them – because here's where this gets interesting. If it gets tight, I don't know if I trust Ryan Day in the clutch. He's never had to coach in. We saw when the pressure was on him, and everybody talks about Ryan Day's second half adjustments. And I said this before. I said it earlier in the season. I said it after we beat them. This is his first year with just his people. This is his first year with just his guys that he's recruited. And everyone says he's a second half adjustments genius. None of the adjustments he made in the second half against Michigan made zero difference. They got outclassed. They got out-punched in the face. And that's why I think I'm uncertain. Because if Utah wants to get in a dogfight, that's their game. Kyle Whittingham has those, but we want to get in a dogfight. If it comes down to a dogfight, I like Utah. I'm just interested to see out of that matchup, I think Ohio State wins if just one of those guys plays. So even if one guy opts out, whether Wilson or Olave, I still think they're going to win. And even if they both, I still like the chances of them winning. But I'm interested to see, can Ryan Day coach when it's tight? Because since he's been at Ohio State, he hasn't had to coach tight games. Until he got to the play. I mean, Clemson blew him out the water, or whoever they blew him out. I think it was Clemson. Or maybe it was
Bama in the
Bama. Excuse me, and that team was unreal. But so it wasn't even a close game. But it's like, I haven't. No, they played Clemson that 1 year, and it was a tight game. That was the one. But then, of course, you had Justin Fields, who's the number 9 overall pick this past year.
Yeah.
So you don't. I'm just interested to see how he coaches moving forward. So if it's tight, I love Utah because they seem to thrive in those situations. But like you said, if Olave and Wilson figure, hey, let's go out, let's all try to get 1,000 yards and be probably the greatest, arguably one of the greatest trios, because even Jefferson and all those guys didn't all get 1,000. So if they do that, I think they come out early and they just kind of, they steamroll them and go home.
Well, and what I can't get past, and I know you're not supposed to do this because of when games were played and what the teams, what the team chemistry and morale and how they were playing, but I can't get past the team that beat Ohio State at Ohio State got blown out twice by Utah. I mean, what a pathetic showing on Friday night for Oregon. I mean, the team that just absolutely embarrassed you a couple weeks ago, you get another shot at them, and you it's like you didn't even show up to play.
Well, it makes sense now if they're getting ready to go to Miami.
No, which that's a whole nother thing going on. You got, I would really just, I'm asking anyone listening to this right now, go to my Twitter and watch the video that I made. I'm so proud of it. Okay. I'm very proud of this video, and it's not going to get any attention, but like, it's my perspective of what's happening with Miami. And I'll give you a hint. I took a clip from There's Something About Mary. So please go to it's Trey Smith and watch that video. But yeah, it does make sense if he's got 1 foot out the door. So we'll see. I mean, Ohio State, in theory, on paper,
they should roll them.
But Utah, man, Kyle's at Whittington. I mean, he's been doing it for years.
It's gonna be tough.
He took care of Bama in the Sugar Bowl 1 year. He's just that dude, that Utah Ute dude. All right, let's get to our last New Year's Six Bowl, which is in New Orleans on New Year's Day, the Sugar Bowl. We got the Baylor Bears and the Ole Miss Rebels. What you got, B.
This
Holmes?
is tough. I got a little Ole Miss love this year, so I've spent some time covering them, and I like Matt Corral. First off, wait, is Jerry Buchanan, is he injured? He did not play yesterday. Yeah, Gary.
Gary?
Yeah.
Bohannon? Yeah, so he has a hamstring deal that kept him out. So their backup comes in though and throws 3 touchdowns, completes the most consecutive passes in, I think, a Big 12 championship history. I mean, it's like they don't even lose a step there. Dude, their identity is on their defense, which is odd because they play in the Big 12 and you don't expect that. Dude, between Terrell Bernard, which was who I said was their secret weapon, linebacker, and Jalen Petrie, they're all-conference. They're both all-conference, but Jalen Petrie was the defensive player of the year for the Big 12. Like, those dudes are some dogs. And now, they haven't seen an offense like Ole Miss, but I think this is going to be a good game.
I do, too. Matt Corral's probably going to play because, I mean, he's out.
I was going to say, is he for sure going to play?
I'll text Tommy later this week. I'm sure Tommy Brooker knows. If anybody knows, Tommy knows. But I'm sure he's probably going to play. I think if he plays, I like Ole Miss. I think they're kind of at full strength now at the end of the season. Everybody's kind of healthy. Mac has probably now taken by the time they play, it'll be like 3-4 weeks off. And it'll probably be his last little show because it's between – last time I checked the big board, he's supposedly going to be the second pick coming off the board. But now
second quarterback?
Like the first, like the
Okay.
number 2 overall pick. I can't. Who?
Are you
No,
kidding
Mel Kiper
me?
just put it up the other day. Was it Mel Kiper or what?
Wow.
But I know now with Kenny Pickett, it's the battle between him and Pickett. So if I wonder if he's going to say, "Let me prove why I should be the first guy coming off the board." But then, anything can happen, man. Aranda, man, he has those guys. He has that defense juiced up, man. And it'd be interesting. Here's where the caveat comes in for me. Lane doesn't like to take the points. Lane does not like to take the points. And if you let Baylor hang in this game, I think they could potentially pull the upset. Off my gut, my head is saying go ahead and go with Ole Miss. Too much firepower, too fast, too much speed, too much skill.
Mm-hmm.
Baylor's, yes, they play in the Big 12, but they haven't seen speed, size, and skill like that. That's only reserved for the SEC. I'm just going to be blatantly honest about it. But if Lane is being Lane and not taking the points, and you let Baylor hang around, Aranda kind of has those guys, they believe. They've had a late season kind of surge, even though they had that early letdown, I think, against TCU. And since then, man, they've been humming. So I like Ole Miss in this, especially with Lane just signing the big extension. I think he kind of probably has a little something to prove to why he's worth the money he is, and I think we'll see it. But I like Ole Miss.
So he signed it because I read it wasn't going to be signed till Monday.
He dropped a video on Twitter. Yeah, he dropped a video on Twitter of him.
Okay,
it said
so
extension
it's
on the license plate. Yeah.
Okay.
Tommy sent it to me.
So then I guess the Ole Miss fans can quit sweating, because when you got a guy like Lane Kiffin as your head coach and all these big jobs are opening, you're sweating, wondering, is he going to go here? Is he going to go there? Good for them. He'll be there another year. I still don't see him being at Ole Miss for the long
Unless
haul.
he gets Arch.
There's already now.
If he gets Arch, I think he stays.
Yeah. Man, I feel like Arch wants to go somewhere else, but we'll see. Now there's smoke around his OC possibly going to OU as the OC. At that point, it would just have to come down to money, because I'm sure they're about to break the bank to keep Kiffin, and that's going to dip into his coaching budget, like assistant's budget. I think. Maybe not. Maybe Ole Miss will just, empty the pockets, empty the bank to keep everybody. But I also wonder, with a coach like Kiffin, does it matter who his OC is? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's the prodigy. Like, he's the offensive guru behind everything. He can bring anyone in as long as they're competent and coachable and things like that. However, should Lebby get the opportunity, it sounds like Venables is going to be the guy at OU. So should he get the opportunity to go be his OC, where at that point he would have full control of the offense, that could go one of two ways. That could impact the bowl game one of two ways. It could impact it one way, where Lane calls the game and Ole Miss scores more points than they've scored all year, because
he's that good.
You can't take that away from him. He's a tremendous play caller and play designer, and like how he stacks plays. That's what they say about him. He teaches these young OCs how to take their system, which between Briles and Lebby and kind of their veer and shoot background, he shows them how to add wrinkles to make one play set up another play. I don't know. I think if this game's a blowout, it's because it's Ole Miss doing the blowing out. But if it's a close game, I think Baylor wins it. I need to think on that one a little more. I need to see who's playing. And I'll be curious to see Corral, man. I've never felt like his game translates well to the NFL. But what do I know? He may end up somewhere, get in a great system, and end up being
great.
I just worried, man. Can his body take the pounding that comes along with playing in the NFL?
I think also that
I don't know. Because of how let me clarify. Because of how he plays. Quarterbacks are the most protected players on the field. Don't get me wrong, but like he's one of those, like, he just takes off and zigzags up and down the field. And all year when I've watched Ole Miss, I'm going, man, is he going to make it to the end of the season? just kind of how he's been used.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like. They kind of used him. They ran him a ton this year, which. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
But that's his game. That's what Rich Rod did when Rich Rod was the Ole Miss OC.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I mean, but I don't know.
It'll be interesting. I'm going hotty toddy.
I'll be shocked if he's a second player off the board, though. If he's a second pick in the draft, that would surprise me.
I meant to send it to you when I saw it the other day. Somebody had him as number 2. Oh yeah, I'm looking at one right now. Houston Texans, Matt Corral. I would be really shocked if they did that.
Well, you know how those things fluctuate over the next 4 or 5 months between now and draft season, but if that's a legitimate thing, that could impact whether or not he plays in the Sugar Bowl.
If he's getting that type of buzz, I don't go. I don't play. There's no need for me to play.
But you also know his loyalty to Kiffin. He obviously has tremendous loyalty to the university. I don't know. I mean, I think one of the last kind of top picks that played was what I think one of them was Dalvin Cook against Michigan. In was it the Fiesta Bowl or something?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
we won't get
Bowl.
on that. We won't bring up old stuff.
Yes.
All right, let's get these last 2 games. So we're going to talk about these last 2 New Year's Day bowls. We've got the Citrus Bowl and the Outback Bowl. We don't have to spend a lot of time on them. Obviously, there's one that I'm going to talk about. But Iowa, Kentucky, I like Kentucky. I think that, might be a good game. Kind of similar styles. I think Kentucky probably has, I think they have more team speed collectively. They've disappointed me a little bit with a couple of their losses this season, but I like Kentucky winning that game. I don't really have much else to say on it. I mean, we saw what Michigan did to Iowa Saturday night.
It was ugly, and it got ugly fast. Yeah, I think if Kentucky doesn't bring their O, I think that's where Iowa's defense is legit. I mean, people are going to say no, it's not because
turnover machines,
they're
man.
Say, no, it's because we did put, but. To their defense, they missed 2 early shots that probably would. I still think we would have won the game, but it would have been a tougher game.
Yeah.
They missed 2 big shots that they should have had. And Iowa normally doesn't miss those plays, which was shocking to me that they missed them. So, and then they lead. They're statistically, I mean, they lead the nation in interceptions, and they're one of the top takeaway teams in the country. So, I think if Kentucky rolls in like, oh, we're SEC and this is Iowa, it could become a long day for them because and if they can't stop the run, which I don't know, I haven't watched a lot of Kentucky. I think Iowa can give them. Because matter of fact, didn't they play that bowl game? No, that was against LSU where they threw the Hail Mary at the end and they won. But I think Iowa keeps it competitive.
Kentucky, I mean, they're usually a team built to stop the run. Mark Stoops, I mean, that's he's staying. He ain't going nowhere. And then my beloved Razorbacks got the New Year's Day Bowl. My big thing with that was twofold. And I did a whole video about this already. It's separate from the podcast. It's on our channel, but it picked up like 6,000 views because Razorback Nation. Crazy. I just thank you, Razorback Nation. I love you. I love being a part of you. But I was talking about why I felt like Arkansas deserved a New Year's Day Bowl and why I wanted them to get a New Year's Day Bowl. One was to get a quality opponent. And it's funny because some people are kind of griping about Penn State. Oh, they're 7-5. No, Penn State's a good team. Like they
outside of the SEC West,
certainly
they play the toughest division in college football.
Correct. And they certainly underachieved from what it looked like they might be able to do coming off that wideout victory against Auburn. But I think this is a good game. I think Arkansas will still be able to establish the run. We'll have everybody playing. I can't imagine Traylon Burks not playing in this game, even though he would be the one guy I would see.
You think he's going to play?
Oh, yeah. Dude, there's still some smoke about him maybe coming back. On a massive NIL deal with, Northwest Arkansas, we got
Yeah.
Tyson Chicken, Walmart. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 Fortune 500 companies right there. So, and it could just be chatter. I don't see it happening. I see him being potentially the first receiver or second receiver off the board, being a first-round pick. Yeah, which you'd be getting a heck of a player. And I hope that happens, B. Holmes, because I'm buying his NFL jersey. So I'm just hoping he doesn't go to the Eagles. But I am buying his NFL jersey wherever he goes. But I don't see him not playing in that game. And it would just be, but quality opponent was the first reason. And the second reason is just the practice time. We've got so much young talent, young players. And I don't know what the rules would be with Hazelwood, but if he's enrolled and he's able to participate in those bowl practices, not so he can play in the games, but just so he can start getting reps within the system. That's really what bowl season's all about when you're where Arkansas is right now. And then trying to set the stage for maybe making a run at a New Year's Six Bowl next year. But my goodness, dude, our non-conference schedule next year, we open the season with Cincinnati. We play BYU on the road. Like, those are 2 of our 4, plus the SEC West.
It's going to be a gauntlet.
I'm not going to get too far into that, but still, we'll have KJ coming back, pretty much our entire stable of running backs coming back, nearly our entire offensive line. And we've got young guys coming up who are developing in the system. But I like Arkansas winning this game, getting to 9-4, first 9-win season since 2011. Crazy. I don't know, B. Holmes. It's like both of our teams are finally starting to kind of get over this massive hump, and it seems like all you and I needed to do was start a podcast.
That's seriously what it's looking like. I think I like I like you guys. I've watched enough. I mean, because I do a podcast with you, I watch Arkansas now. So y'all can put up points. Yeah, I think it depends what type of Sean Clifford is playing with Penn State. Which Sean Clifford comes out. Now, he's probably had some time to heal because he just got his butt busted the last couple weeks of the season. But you know what? Nope. I'm going to take that back. It doesn't matter what Sean Clifford you guys put out there. Their offensive tackles are trash. They're horrible. Excuse me. Let me not say that. That's wrong. I don't like judging athletes like that. They're not playing well. Let me pull back the trash statement. Yeah, let me pull that back.
I got you.
They just haven't been playing well. And I think they're like freshmen. They haven't been playing. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson and Ajabo went for like 8 sacks on them on their own. So I like Arkansas on that one. No matter what Sean. Now, Tony Franklin is known. Not Tony Franklin. That's the shout out Tommy Brook.
James Franklin. I'm with
Tony
you.
Tony Franklin is this OC. Yeah,
the Tony Franklin system.
Yes, we went to the camp in high school. So me and Tommy Brooker have so many jokes about that. Oh, guys, like anyways.
Like the foot fire?
Yes, the foot fire, hand. we ran that system my senior year of high school. Anyways, James Franklin is known to he's known to pull out a nice little win every now and then. You know, he just signed the big time extension. He might be like, all right, let me go ahead and get one. And, you know, they have like they have one of the top 10 recruiting classes in the country. So he might try to put on, you know, to show these recruits like, hey, we're moving in the right direction. This was an off year for us. We didn't, you know, because you can kind of pin the underachieving on Clifford. Clifford got hurt. Our backup was like a true freshman. He wasn't ready, but you saw before because we said it and it's on wax. If Clifford never gets hurt, they beat Iowa. And now that team with that type of momentum is looking a lot different going into the season. So, but I just think you guys are a little bit too much for them. So I wouldn't be shocked if Penn State pulled it off because James Franklin is known to pull something out of his hat. You know, that's what got him that contract at Penn State. He beat Ohio State that one time. He kind of upset Michigan State that one time. He's hammered Michigan like twice. He's known like to kind of just every year he kind of has that marquee win, and he hasn't had one this year. So I like you guys to win that, but if somehow they came out and played the game of their lives and ended up winning 8 ball games and that helped them into the recruiting trail, it wouldn't shock me. But I like Arkansas in that game.
Yeah, I'm trying to set up. I want to do a sidebar video either with you as just a Big Ten rep or like an actual Penn State fan. because I just want to know, like, hey, do y'all have anybody that can stop Traylon Burks? Do y'all have anybody that can bring down KJ Jefferson by himself? Do you have anybody that
their defense is nice though. I'll give Penn State. Penn State has their if it wasn't for Aiden and Ajabo, a lot more people would be talking in the Big Ten would be talking about Penn State's defensive front. They have a very strong. They made it really hard to run the football on. Now, their secondary is, I think, underrated. Joey Porter, the former linebacker, Pittsburgh Steelers, his son plays corner for Penn State. He's nice. He is nice.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying I don't know. Trey is a future first-round draft pick. I think those guys, you don't cover them. You just hope.
Yeah, he outran the entire Alabama secondary.
I just hope he doesn't go for 10 yards and 10 catches and 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, you just hope he doesn't just – he's going to catch on you.
Yeah, right.
So I think they'll be able to compete, but I think in the long run, y'all will probably pull off third quarter, fourth quarter, and really open the game up.
Well, I DM'd Micah Parsons, Cowboys' freakishly talented linebacker who I was high on since before the draft. I've got the receipts to prove that. But it's not about that. But I DM'd him, told him he needs to make a bet with Jerry Jones, and if he loses, he has to wear a Razorback jersey. And then I asked him, hey, man, I want to get a Penn State person on the podcast to talk about, or on a video to talk about this bowl game. Let me know if you got any recommendations. So let's see if Micah hits me back. Probably. Yeah, I know. Come on, bro. So that's all we're going to talk about today, bowl games-wise. Stay tuned to our social media accounts at It's Trey Smith or at Blue Blood CGT on everything else. If you're watching this and you've stuck it out for this full hour, go ahead and subscribe. Like, if you literally just watched this entire hour, you may as well subscribe to the channel. My quick Blue Bloods double dribble for this week, which I know most people, if you're still listening at this point, you don't care about that because you're here for the football content, but basketball content, my Blue Bloods double dribble was the same day that Alabama upsets number 1 Georgia and wins the SEC championship. Alabama basketball upsets the Gonzaga Bulldogs. So they were undefeated against the Bulldogs on Saturday in both football and basketball. And I'm sitting there texting my buddy who is a Bama guy. I'm like, I just can't think of a more deserving fan base. I mean, y'all have just waited so long. It's almost been a full calendar year since your last national title. Only, who deserves a SEC championship and an upset over Gonzaga in the same day? I mean, God, it drives me crazy. It's the rich just get richer. But I can't complain because I'm loving what my Hoops Hogs are doing. If you hadn't watched it, if you're a Razorback fan listening right now, go watch my video about the one key stat that could take Arkansas to the Final Four. I got a little formula of how they performed through their first 7-8 games of the season and what they're averaging in double figures, and it's a team stat that is, if they can sustain it through the rest of the season in conference play, watch out for them come tournament time. All the socials, YouTube. Hey, we're our next goal right now, I'm just going to put it out there. Our next goal is 1,000 subscribers. So we set our original goal. We wanted to get to 100. We hit 100. Now we're setting it for 1,000. So we're aiming for 1,000. We'll put progress checks towards 1,000 updates out as we get there. But B. Holmes, we had a really productive championship weekend. I think we may have added 55 to 60 new subscribers just on, content we've been putting out. And it's obviously an exciting time in college football. So like we said last week, man, we're just fans, just like you, listening to this or watching this, and we're trying to see what we can build this thing into.
Yeah, guys. So thank you, man, for joining us. Make sure you follow Trey on Twitter at It's Trey Smith. You can follow me at Twitter at RealBHolmes. Follow our podcast at Blue Blood CGT. That's on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And we just thank you guys for always supporting us. Make sure you subscribe, man. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is a podcast for the fans, by the fans. And as always, well, some of y'all didn't play this week, so I'm going to enjoy my win because my team played this week. And if your team played and lost, Rusty and Laurels, get ready for bowl season. Hey, and shout out to people like Tommy Brooker who said, I don't really watch college basketball, but I got to watch it now because y'all are going to talk about it, and it gives me a reason to listen. So, man,
yes. You won't regret it, TB.
So
you won't
pick a college basketball team.
College basketball is a beautiful
thing.
thing.
We're going to have some good things. Be on the lookout for our college pick'ems. Our group, we're going to go out. We got some prizes coming your guys' way.
Hey. In fact, since you said that, let me just pull this up to make sure I don't miss. Ole Miss had a
They
big
did this week.
upset. Ole Miss hoops. Was it Memphis?
I think it was Memphis.
I believe.
It was Memphis.
Yep. Saturday, they upset the number 18 Memphis Tigers, coached by Penny Hardaway. Talked about that last week. And assistant Larry Brown, Ole Miss hoops. Kermit, I think, is their head coach's name. So I'll throw that little nugget out there for
Yes,
TD.
sir.
Old T. Brooks. So,
And last thing,
yeah, college hoops, man. It's coming
before we
fast
get out
and
of here, because
furious.
we didn't cover it, shout out to Dion, man. Dion, Coach Prime, the boys at
Yes,
Jackson State. We've
yes.
showed them love all season. They just won. They're going to the Celebration Bowl, and man, it's going to be a
Yes,
it's
South
going to be a
Carolina
good
State.
one. So shout out Coach Prime, man.
We'll do a separate video just
Yep.
spotlighting that. So if you're a listener, you're going to need to get on our YouTube so you can see some of our quote-unquote bonus content that we drop in addition to our podcast. But I think we're going to do 2 separate videos this week for sure. One on Quinn Ewers, who's in the transfer portal. He's currently in Lubbock, Texas right now. We could get a decision on him pretty quick, so we'll have one on him. We'll have one on Coach Prime in Jackson State versus South
Yes,
Carolina
sir.
State in the Celebration Bowl. And who knows? Could be a couple other ones dropping. So go to our YouTube, subscribe, and we'll holler at you next
Peace.
week.